This week, we're taking a look at what's in store for PlayStation VR as we find out more about brand new FPS Farpoint and check out the Dark Knight's exciting new outing from Rocksteady, Batman Arkham VR. And while the words Red Dwarf video game might get your heart racing, wait till you see our review. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week, while normally we'd keep the music news until last, this is something you need to know about right now. Bethesda and id Software have finally responded to fan requests, releasing the brain-melting Doom soundtrack as a standalone album. Created by Aussie composer Mick Gordon, this is more than just an audio rip of what's in the game. Those are already all over YouTube and they pale in comparison to the real deal. Gordon has sat down with all of the individual bits and pieces that make up the soundtrack and pieced them all together again in a new way. What you get is 31 tracks, 128 minutes of pure Doom energy, fresh from the depths of hell. You can pick it up now from iTunes or Google Play or stream to your heart's content on Spotify. And sticking with music for the moment, and Bethesda for that matter, there will be a grand performance by the Winterhold Philharmonic Orchestra and Choir to celebrate the launch of Skyrim Special Edition this month. There's just one problem. Composer Jeremy Soule is not involved. At all. He's not conducting, he's not appearing, and he claims he hasn't even handed over his sheet music, alleging that the brand new arrangements of his iconic tunes have actually been transcribed by ear, a process he describes as flawed and fraught with errors. Predictably, Soule asks his fans not to support the concert, which hits London's Palladium Theatre on November 16. If you still want to, tickets are on sale now. Meanwhile, let's talk consoles. Specifically, let's talk Xbox One. Microsoft is reporting that the release of the smaller, more powerful Model S has boosted sales of the console by a whopping 989%. This jump gave Microsoft a 71% market share in the UK, as compared to Sony's 19% even after the launch of the PS4 Slim. Of course, that could all change with the launch of Project Scorpio and the PlayStation 4 Pro, but even then, Sony's approach is drawing some criticism. Albert Penello, lead of planning for Xbox, says that he, like the rest of us, was surprised when Sony revealed the brand new PS4 Pro would not feature 4K Blu-ray support. For those playing at home, Xbox's upcoming Project Scorpio does feature a 4K disc player if you're looking for a gaming console that will also handle your movie collection. Amazon has finally revealed one of the biggest changes it's bringing to the Twitch streaming service. Twitch Prime is a monthly service that piggybacks onto the already existing Amazon Prime. For a little over $10 a month, you'll get all sorts of bits and pieces, from free games to in-game loot to discounts on new releases, plus you say bye-bye to ads and hello to new emotes, plus you get one free Twitch channel subscription every month. Complete with its own 30-day free trial, Twitch Prime is currently only available in the US, the UK, Canada, Germany, France, Italy and Spain, but we're hoping it'll show up in a few other places before too long. And speaking of cool things to spend your money on, how would you like your own unique 3D printed Skylanders character? Skylanders Creator is a new app due out this month that will let you do just that, and then play with your character within Skylanders Imaginators. Creation parts must be unlocked through various gameplay and loot box mechanics, and once you've made your perfect creation, it'll set you back around $50 to get it turned into reality. Pokemon Go is, of course, still one of the most popular mobile games on the market, but it's exactly that popularity that was nearly its undoing. At the game's launch, developer Niantic had an idea of how many people might want to play the game. Google engineers knew from previous launches that mobile games typically ramp up in popularity gradually, but they still multiplied Niantic's number by 5 to create a worst-case estimate. And then the game launched, very quietly, in selected regions, and all of their estimations were blown out of the water. Niantic's original predicted population was surpassed by more than 50 times, which explains why Pokemon Go was brought to a standstill so many times in the early days. But even with that explanation, many gamers are less than happy with the way that Niantic has handled the game. 72 complaints have been filed with the US Federal Trade Commission, with fans expressing privacy concerns, complaining about overpriced items, or just wanting to talk to someone about why their account has been banned. The majority of complaints have been to do with in-game items being too expensive, while other people have raised issues about security, privacy, and children's safety. Plenty of people have, of course, griped about server downtime, and, believe it or not, some have even placed formal complaints following that one game update that blocked third-party Pokemon tracking apps and banned accounts that were using them. When you think about it though, given how many million people are playing Pokemon Go, 72 complaints, even from just one country, is a drop in the ocean, and not really much to be concerned about. Someone that maybe should be getting concerned about gamer feedback is Hello Games, which is being investigated by the UK Advertising Standards Authority. People have complained that the game simply did not live up to the hype generated by Hello Games and Sony, with the developer showing screenshots and videos that feature more advanced animal behaviour, large-scale combat, and ship-flying behaviour that simply didn't make it into the released game. If the studio is found guilty of false advertising, Hello Games may face sanctions and fines from the industry body. For more information on any of these stories, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
How do you feel when you put on that mask? Are you hiding from the world? Or do you want the world to hide away from you?
Very excited. We are here with one of the most interesting looking new VR titles that has been revealed here at E3 2016. It is Batman Arkham VR. We're all familiar with Batman, we're all familiar with the Arkham series. This is an all new take on what we've seen before, and I am joined by Sefton from Rocksteady. So we can talk about the nitty gritty, what's going on, how did we get here, and why VR? It's probably a good enough place to start. Why VR for Batman?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to be honest, when we finished Arkham Knight, I said on record that was our last Batman game, because kind of felt that we'd told the stories that we wanted to tell, and then the opportunity to work on a VR game come up, and it's a different way to tell the story, something much more cerebral and focused on the detective aspect of Batman, the world's greatest detective, and really placing you in Wayne Manor, in the Batcave, inside Gotham. It felt like another way to approach the same source material, but tell a completely new type of story in that world. So the story is about a serial killer who's on the loose within Gotham, and Batman's basically tracking this character down and trying to figure out who it is, and that's essentially what you're going to play across the course of the story. So it's a mystery. We don't want to give away too much, but it's kind of figuring out, and it's really in that tradition of the best Batman murder mystery stories.
And for people who have played the Batman Arkham series before, they know that it's pretty hard-hitting, it's gritty, it's dark. Can we expect all of the same sort of feeling and aesthetics this time around?
Yeah. I mean, one of the great things about VR is that it's very emotional and very... it's something that I always say, it's kind of involuntary. Like once you put on that headset, you kind of really feel in that location, in that world. You really feel that power of the universe. So it enables to tell a story that's very emotionally powerful and psychologically very powerful. And of course, the Arkham VR stories are always about the psychological aspect of Batman, so we've obviously talked a lot about that as well and delve into that.
And you are literally looking through the eyes of Bruce Wayne and Batman, depending on what he's wearing at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you are Batman, and that's one of the things that's really unique about it. We were sort of almost surprised by ourselves, because VR gives you that amazing sense of presence in the world, but actually having that sense of presence combined with the fact that you're a character that you know and love, it's like a really different kind of role play. So you are Batman, you look around, people are addressing you, as Batman, Alfred's speaking to you as Bruce Wayne, as Batman. So it's a really kind of like different experience, We actually see people, because you go through the suit up sequence in the game, and they put on the suit and then they kind of like just stand there and sort of chest back and it's a very almost involuntary thing again, like you feel like Batman when you suit up and get ready. So yeah, it's very cool.
Are there any other familiar faces that we'll be encountering as we go through this VR experience?
Yeah, there's going to be some villains that you come across. So you've heard Joker speaking in the trailer, so it's a pretty safe bet to say that Joker's in there. We have Nightwing in there. So a number of friendly faces as well, a number of villains that you're going to meet and come across. You're going to get to go and see Penguin as well and interrogate Penguin. So yeah, there's a number of familiar faces, but a completely new story. And it is in the canon, it is in the Arkham series. But kind of part of the fun is figuring out exactly what's happening when you play the game. So I don't want to give too much away.
This is the first VR title that you guys have worked out at Rocksteady, isn't it? What's that challenge been like?
Yeah, weird, because it's such a different medium. And I think what we found very quickly was that the things that work on a 2D screen are not necessarily the things that are the most effective in the world. And what VR gives you is something that's very powerful and unique, but it doesn't replace traditional 2D gaming. I think the two things sit side by side. So a lot of the rules and skills and gameplay things that we've learned over the years, we've had to kind of revisit and say, okay, well, we don't do that. You're not going to be flying around and flipping upside down in free flow combat, but you are going to be in these environments and really feeling the atmosphere around you. And what can we do with that? How can we create a game that's very emotionally powerful? It's a very different experience and a much more powerful experience in some ways, because you're there, you're not playing through an avatar on the screen, it is you in that world.
That does also raise an interesting question. This is for PlayStation VR, and so how do you handle things like, Batman won't necessarily stand in the same place. He does have combat where he might, as you say, flip upside down. How do you get around the sort of restrictions of your viewpoint being much more fixed?
Yeah, I mean, it is something that we had to design from the ground up, and that's one of the advantages with this, is that it's not a game we were making and then we put a headset into it. We were able to design literally from minute one for what gives the best possible VR experience. So, we're not focused on the combat, for example, because that we focus much more on the things that work really powerfully in a VR experience. And obviously we've done a lot of the free flow combat, the Predator gameplay in the previous game, so it gives us a nice opportunity to approach that story from a different angle. So it is more about investigating crime scenes, uncovering the murderer, that kind of methodical approach, and seeing this process through Batman's eyes. So yeah, it is different, and I think because it's designed specifically for VR, you're getting the best out of that experience. It's a linear story. It's about 60 minutes long, kind of give or take, and then probably about 60 to 90 minutes of bonus content unlocked once you've beaten the story. So all the environments have additional content that appears in those to play through again. So there's lots of stuff to do, but we decided we wanted to keep saying very powerful and shorter rather than drag it out. Like, we could have extended the playtime, but for us it was much more important to have an intense experience and a powerful experience. And VR as well is not something that I think to begin with everyone's going to put on and play for like 10 hours. We'll get there, I think, because I think you get used to it, but we wanted it to be a very welcoming experience, so it's a very friendly experience. If this is the first VR game you ever play, it's a game that's specifically designed not to give any kind of negative effects. So we really wanted it to be a game that everyone could pick up and enjoy.
Does it even matter? After all, if you find a mask that fits, you never need to take it off.
I'm going to lay my heart on the line here. I love Red Dwarf. I begged my parents to let me watch it when I was much younger, and I can still recite many early episodes by heart. I really, really wanted this game to be good. The fact it's a mobile game wasn't a problem. I would have been delighted with a simple Match 3 game with the crew's heads, or Cargo Bay Tetris, or even a Temple Run style runner where Lister must run through a corridor. An idle game about mining Jupiter, Flappy Bird navigating Starbug through an asteroid belt, but not this. The developers have tried to create something original with Red Dwarf the game, and it pains me to say they've got it wrong in so many soul-crushing ways.
Ready to receive your message. Over. Hello and welcome to Red Dwarf XI, the game.
Red Dwarf, the game, features episodic content that ties in directly with each episode of Season 11, kicking off with the first episode, Twentica. The boys from the dwarf have discovered a derelict spaceship and decided to snoop around and see what's worth salvaging. The first part of the game is an on-rails affair where you must avoid asteroids, scan the derelict ship, fire lasers at space rocks, and collect sparkly lights that will help you upgrade Red Dwarf. There are several levels of this, each one more challenging than the last, before you can move on to the next part of the story. And, as we saw in the episode, Rimmer is aboard a simulant ship and must get from point A to point B without dying, navigating through electrical arcs and toxic vapour clouds. To be honest, we're not really sure how toxic clouds would affect the hologram, hard light or otherwise, but that's the least of our concerns with the game. Eventually, you'll find a bazookoid lying randomly in a hallway, because that's exactly what happens in video games, and then you'll have to run back again, occasionally coming to face with a simulant. Shooting the bad guys is a whole new experience. The simulant will begin firing about 2 seconds after the fight starts, does not miss, and fires a lot faster than you do. It is possible to get Rimmer's 2 shots in on target before the simulant starts firing, and when we say possible, we mean unlikely. Defeat one, move down the hall a bit, fight another one, move down the hall a bit. All the while, Rimmer's health is decreasing steadily thanks to being shot and running into the aforementioned toxic clouds. And, by the way, no matter how close you get to the end, if Rimmer dies again, or gets stuck in an invisible corner, you will have to restart the entire level. There are no mid-stage save points and no health packs. Moving on, and you're now piloting Starbug through a wormhole, rolling around the edges, avoiding space rocks and collecting more sparklies before carefully landing on a planet on the other end. As with the other segments, this one goes on for about twice as long as you'd want, but at least it's not terribly difficult. Your next task is to recharge Crichton in a cheap gag segment involving nipple nuts, jumper cables and a twirly knob. And now it's Cat's turn. Just like when you were playing as Rimmer, your job as Cat is to avoid simulants because you don't have a bazookoid this time around. Again, if you get hit too many times, you'll die and have to restart the whole segment. If you're starting to detect an air of irritation, you're only getting the half of it. This is not a mobile game you can knock over in one sitting, but it's not because of any great depth of story or tricky puzzle you need to ponder over. No. By this point in the game, we'd put the phone down 3 times, very, very gently, to avoid throwing it at a wall out of sheer frustration. And it doesn't get any better from here. The next section features a truck. Tap to move forward, swipe left and right to turn. There's no reverse gear, and there are barrels strewn all over the road. These barrels get in the way, and even though you can move them, every time you touch one, you cause damage to the truck. There are also simulants wandering around. If you run over them quickly, the truck will take damage. If you run over them slowly, they'll shoot you first, and the truck will take damage. This would be bad enough on a straight road, but there are corners, and you will inevitably oversteer then understeer your way through, hitting even more invisible corners and taking damage every time you do. Even though each of these minigames is repeated at least once more throughout the episode, there's one other segment we need to address. It's a quiz on scientific knowledge. If you've seen the episode, you'll understand how this one fits in. Now, some of the questions can be a little bit tricky, but there's a limited pool, there's no time limit, there's no penalties for getting questions wrong, and they soon start repeating, so you can just write down the answers and work your way through. Red Dwarf, the game, could have been a fun little 99-cent tie-in, but asking $3.99 Australian and repeatedly kicking you in the bollocks when you try to play, even die-hard fans should steer clear of this one.
This place is incredible.
What's your suit on those rocks? We don't know what kind of pathogens might exist here. We can't afford a breach. Come on. We have to keep moving.
So Farpoint is a first-person shooter for VR where you're transported to an alien planet and you're trying to find out what's happened to your crewmates and basically trying to survive while you're doing it. So Farpoint is the first-person shooter in VR that really delivers on the VR FPS experience. And to do that, we use the PSVR Aim Controller. So I have it here, right here with me.
I bet this place isn't even on the star charts.
Analyzing surroundings. Unknown environment. Unknown atmosphere. Wow. Unknown location.
So the PSVR Aim Controller is the new controller from Sony that is fully tracked and will match your movements in the game precisely. So if you're moving it in any direction, it exactly tracks what you're doing. You can shoot around a rock just by moving out and shooting around the rock. If you wanted to blind fire, you just kind of duck down and shoot over the rock or around the cover that you're in. It's all tracked very precisely. One of the great things about that is that we're making a first-person shooter for core audiences, but it's also very accessible because you just pick it up and it's very natural. You can just hold it and wherever you aim it, that's where it goes. It also means that for our core audiences who really love the skill involved, there's no aim assist. So it's accurate enough that we don't need any of that. You just aim and there you go.
Wait. What the hell is that?
One of the misconceptions so far has been it's been an on-rail shooter, but that's not true, is it?
No, it's not on rails at all. So the PSVR Aim Controller has all the functionality of a DualShock 4. So that means we've got except for the touchpad, but we don't need that for this game. So the forward stick will move you forward and backward and strafe left and right, and we have a second stick on here as well. This controller is the perfect controller for a first-person shooter in VR.
Now, the reception at the conference when it was announced, the room was electric. How's it been on the show floor?
Oh, it's been phenomenal. So we get people coming in and they're trying this for the first time. A spider comes at them or they're walking across a bridge and they're just freaking out, just like really into the game. They're just transported to another world when they're in there. It's really exciting to see that people try this out.
And you said this is being developed mainly for a core audience, but accessible as well. So we can expect lots of different weapons, enemies, and environments, okay?
Absolutely. It's a full first-person shooter. There's a storyline, there are multiple weapons, many different enemy types, and we really think it's something people are going to enjoy.
Pilgrim, do you copy? Do you see this? Grant, are you there?
Eva!
So when you are in VR, and this is something that's hard to get across on an interview or a trailer, you are completely transported to another planet. So you are experiencing things as if you're really there. You're wandering around in this hostile alien planet, and you come across holograms of your crewmates, trying to figure out what's happened to them. You're coming across the native species there, the spiders that. Well, if this is Australian media, you guys are aware of the nasty spiders, but these ones are even bigger than the ones you guys have there, and they're out to get you.
We gotta move now!
Pilgrim, can you read me? This is Dr. Tyson and Dr. Moon. Come back.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we check out the Lucid Sound LS30, which promises to be a gaming headset that not only doesn't suck, but it looks pretty stylish at the same time. Jonny chats to CD Projekt Red about their exciting new digital card game, Gwent, and Angelo pops in with his review of Gears of War 4, out now for Xbox One and Windows PC. In the meantime, you can catch us at playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop in our forums. Also, if you want to support Player Attack, you can find us on Patreon and help us bring you the latest in gaming news, plus all these wonderful interviews and reviews from the world of video games. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.